Good evening. We have a series of proclamations that the mayor is going to be good enough to handle for us, as well as a presentation involving the Census Bureau. So before we even call this meeting to order, Mayor, we're going to start with the presentation of the proclamation for the Family Day / Family Week to Alabama Family Rights Association.
Do we have anyone here for that?
We do. Thought we did.
So for the Family Day proclamation, no one's here to accept that. Is that correct? Okay. Well, I tell you what, in the interest of time, because we've got a lot of others, why don't we just, we'll enter this into the record. If he gets the chance to come later, we'll certainly present it to him.
Good, thank you. All right, next item is we've got Miss Sherry Nielsen with the U.S. Census Bureau that's got a presentation.
Good evening. I'm Sherry Nielsen with the Census Bureau. I'm a partnership specialist for the census. Census is coming. It's going to be here in March, and Homewood is one of our target areas because we, in 2010, Homewood had a 74% participation rate. We'd like to see that go up. That leaves money on the table as one of the things that we like to think about. But the census, of course, was, it's in the Constitution. We've been doing the census since 1790. And every year that ends with a 0 is a census year. And we, Governor Ivey is very concerned this year, as are we all, that we might lose one of our representatives in the House of Representatives. If there's only, there's only, if other states go up in their census and we don't, another state stands to gain a representative while we lose one. So, and then in the interest of the government gives out $675 billion a year based on census numbers. We also, in the state of Alabama, your share of the gas tax as well as your internet tax, sales tax, is governed by the census numbers as well. So it as well as the reapportionment of any state or local zonings for your elections. So I'm just here tonight to remind everyone and ask for your support. Everyone will be invited to participate in the census. This year, the census in 2020, the census will, for the first time, you'll be able to respond online. And you'll also be able to call an 800 number to respond as well. We'd prefer that's the preferred method that we would, on the online responses, that's what we would prefer. So I know we have a resolution tonight on your agenda, and I would ask that you support us. And we'll work with your city to make sure that we get a higher turnout this year. It's very important to us and for your city and for the state of Alabama that we do that. So thank you so much. If there's any questions or I'll be here, and you're receiving a packet of information as well. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight. I appreciate it.
Again, before she leaves, is there anyone that's got any questions of Ms. Nielsen?
Mr. Chairman, I actually do have a couple questions, if that's
Go.
okay. So I'm curious about this. You said there was a 74% participation rate from the city of Homewood in 2010.
Correct.
How many census tracts do we have in the city of Homewood, and is it isolated to one tract more than others, or was it just universal?
We have a hard-to-count population that we look at, and namely it's renters. And I think that that would probably be where we would direct attention is people that rent. And then we have seniors are also a hard-to-count population, as well as we have a hard time with children under the age of 5. And that is due to many different reasons. 2 households, one thinking that the other is counting the child, and they're not. And that will affect a child for basically their whole school career, because once we count our count in 2020 stays with us for 10 years. We do estimates in between, but it doesn't affect the count or the distribution of funds.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Sure.
We appreciate it. Okay. Next is a presentation of proclamation by the mayor for the North Star Martial Arts. Do we have anyone here with that organization? Huh? Okay. Wrong Joe, Mr. Falconer. No. Next, then, a presentation of proclamations for Eagle Scout Troop 97. Mayor? They are here big time.
Okay, great. Guys, if we can get y'all to come to the front for me. The proclamation that I'm going to read is going to include all the young men who've earned the rank of Eagle Scout on this one proclamation, but their individual proclamations specifically talks about the things that they have done to earn this. So each of your proclamations are individualized on that, okay? So let's see here. And if I can get y'all to come stand right up on this side, we've got is Garrett here. Daddy, come on. I'll get you to hold it. Max. All right, perfect. I think these guys are taking college. Yes, sir. They didn't come back here. I can't blame them. Will, Ryan, all right. I'm going to look here in a minute. Jonathan, brother, yours is brand new out of the packet here. This is called improvising. That for you. Let's see, I don't see a falconer here. Wonder who it could be.
No pressure on him.
All right, Dr. Harden.
Thank you.
Michael Harden. All right, good. All right, guys, y'all come right on around here. Dads, come on. Y'all are representing your sons, and they worked really hard to get this. So we have a proclamation proclaiming this Eagle Scout Day, September 23rd, 2019. Whereas the mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young men, young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetime by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and law. And whereas Eagle Scout is the highest honor of scouting and is achieved only through dedication, community service, and hard work. And whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is a lifelong honor and is respected by all persons familiar with scouting. Whereas not every American who joins the Boy Scouts earn the prestigious Eagle Scout Award. In fact, only 5% of all Boy Scouts do. Whereas completing the increasingly difficult requirements in the area of leadership, service, and outdoor skills for the different scout ranks and awards teaches our youth how to set goals and realize the benefits of their accomplishments, and the process of achieving those ranks inspires self-confidence and establishes the elements of self-reliance and good citizenship in young people. So now I'd like to individually point out the type projects that each of these young men did to receive their Eagle Scout. Garrett Owen, his project was to demo and build a pedestrian bridge over the creek running through Overton Park in Homewood. Following the demo, Mr. Owen worked hard to restore the bridge footers with concrete before construction began. The bridge is a welcome improvement to the park. Mr. Owen has reflected on his scouting experience, noting that his, quote, most fun times were being with his friends and just being in companionship. And Mr. Owen's enrolled as a freshman attending Auburn University. So let's give him a hand. Max Breeden. His Eagle Scout project was to build adjustable work tables for Homewood High School special needs program. The tables were well received by the students and teachers. Mr. Breeden has reflected on snow skiing with the troop and his favorite merit badge, personal management. Mr. Breeden is enrolled as a freshman attending Auburn University. So let's give Max a hand. Michael, you want to step forward just a step? Your Eagle project was to provide and organize 96 book boxes for children's books to be given to the preschool children in Fairfield, Alabama. Mr. Harden's project helped Ms. Deborah Frazier, teacher at Fairfield, to help preschool children have books at home for reading and preparing them for first grade. Delivery of over 4,000 books to those needy children was both rewarding and humbling for Mr. Harden and his team. The highlight is when the scouts sat down with the kids in small groups and read to them. Mr. Harden reflected on many events in scouting, including a game of wiffle ball played on a dry lake bed at Philmont Scout Reservation in New Mexico. Will, congratulations, buddy. Michael, I appreciate it. Good. Will, his Eagle project was to build 4 benches and a 40 paver walkway at the West Homewood tennis courts. Mr. Ryan shared one of his challenges was getting water to mix the concrete from the creek, as there was not another water source. All went well until he realized all his help became sidetracked looking for crawdads in the creek. Mr. Ryan also reflected on Philmont and their challenging climb to the top of Tooth of Time. Congratulations. Joseph Falconer. His Eagle project was to build Adirondack chairs and benches for the workers in the children's area at Trinity West campus. Mr. Falconer has reflected on the Troop 97 search and rescue campout and merit badge, as well as the friendships and close bonds that make up scouting. Joseph, congratulations, buddy. Mr. Paris? Jonathan's project was to construct an 8-sided platform to be used for team building exercises at Red Mountain Park. Mr. Paris reflected on his first trip to Philmont Scout Reservation in New Mexico and climbing Mount Baldy, and then returning this summer and climbing Baldy again, watching a sunrise. Awesome. Congratulations. So now, therefore, I, Scott McBrayer, Mayor of the City of Homewood, along with the Homewood City Council, hereby proclaim Monday, September 23rd, 2019, to be Eagle Scout Day in the city in honor of the achievement of these young men, and I call upon all the citizens to recognize, respect, and congratulate them and their troop leaders for their accomplishments. Guys, great job. We're awfully proud of you. All right, so now we get to do a picture, I know.
Mr. President, I think it would be fitting to have Scoutmaster Lloyd join them. We need a big round of thanks to the Scoutmaster who assisted
Absolutely.
them in the journey. Get up here for a picture.
Bring a chair with you. All right, guys. Who are we looking at first? Everybody check them now, make sure they're good. They're good. Y'all give them another hand.
Now, young men, excuse me, young men, don't leave us yet. We've got one more function for you to perform, just for a second, okay? All right, we're going to call this meeting to order, and we're going to start with an invocation. We have Logan Whitehead with our fire department that's going to give the invocation. Followed by that, and please stand with me, the Eagle Scouts have agreed to lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, y'all bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, just we thank for this day given to us. We just thank you for all the blessings you give us, our friends, and our families. We just ask you to just give us guidance in all we do, Lord. Lord, just allow us to be steadfast in our lives and our faith. Lord, just pray you be with this council. Pray you be with everyone in this room, Lord. Just allow us to glorify you, just give you what's yours, Lord. We just continue just to praise you and just give you thanks for all you do for us. We ask these things in His name. Amen.
Amen. Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Logan Whitehead, and thank you, Scouts. We would say you had to stay for the whole meeting, but you really don't.
Can I go home, please?
No, ma'am, you cannot. All right, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gwaltney?
Here.
Mr. Thames? Here. Mr. Higginbotham? Here. Mr. Wolverton? Mr. McCluskey? Here. Mr. Jones? Here. Mrs. Smith? Here. Mr. Wyatt? Here. Mrs. Andress?
Here.
Mr. Wright? And Mr. Limbaugh. You got two out,
Here.
but you got a quorum.
All right, we do have a quorum. We'll give our folks just a minute here. All right, the next item is the reading of the minutes from September 9th, 2019 meeting. Chair would welcome a motion to dispense with said readings and approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Gwaltney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that is unanimous. We have a number of board vacancies and appointments that, we have some appointments to discuss, vacancies to deal with. I can't say this and emphasize this enough. We, as a council, but you citizens as well, need to please encourage all of your neighbors that you can to serve on these committees. We need applicants, and frankly, we're going to have to reopen quite a few tonight. We have 7 openings for the Board of Adjustments and Appeals at large. We've got 2 applicants. We're going to carry those over because we have some clarification that we need on eligibility, because that's a highly technical appointment, and we appreciate the two applicants, and we want to make sure that everything fits as it should. Next, we have three applicants, which is very good for the Hydra IDB at-large opening. So what we'll do is we'll set those interviews for sometime next week. Okay, and we'll talk about that in committee meetings next Monday night. And we're going to give Ms. Salter a chance to kind of catch up just a little bit for a couple of days, and then we'll arrange those, okay? So again, we do have three applicants for two openings. So we'll, in essence, carry that over. We also have two applicants for the two openings with the Educational Building Authority at large, but we've also got some clarification that we need to do with a third applicant, whether this is the committee that he is interested in serving on. If he is, then we've got to interview 3 for 2 slots. If not, we've got to ascertain the qualifications of those 2, and if they are qualified, we'll certainly be happy to appoint them. Now, we've got a number of open times that need to be reopened because we haven't had an applicant. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Higginbotham. I'm going to call some people out because I think that's sort of where we are at this point. We're going to reopen the Arts Advisory for Ward 2. We'll close it October 21st, and I have great faith that you're going to have us one or more qualified applicants. And Ms. Andrus, it's your job to kind of stay on him a little bit, okay? Thank you. All right, also speaking of Arts Advisory, the Ward 4 U2 is also closing tonight and needs to be reopened until October 21st.
I think that's Ward 5. Ward
Is it
4 is
5?
about
Oh,
to open, though. Is that
okay.
right, Melody? Ward 4 is about to open.
Well,
Yeah.
she didn't look through. Diane Lotzey said she's still technically in Homewood and helping, but I thought we were going to go ahead and announce this since it's been taking so long to fill because she's moving.
But is she Ward 4?
That's what we thought. She was Ward 4. We looked up Diane. We thought it was Ward 4, but there is a Ward 5 that needs to be reopened as well.
I don't know.
We looked at her address and said we thought it was 4.
So we're back to 4. So again, we will open that until October excuse me, I was a little
But
confused.
we may can extend that one out because she said she was still helping. Her house was still in Homewood, but I don't know when she's going to be finished. I just knew that it took a while to get these filled. And she's the chairperson.
Yeah, she's the chair of the committee.
Well, I think if we open it for 28 days, surely that's, because Arts Advisory is a good, and in the past, we've had good participation with that group. Right, Ms. Andrus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
And they've got a lot of really great projects that lend a lot to the city, so we want
Do
them.
we need to wait? I emailed her, but I didn't clarify if she wanted to wait or not. For 4.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we leave that one unopened and let you determine and Ms. Andrus determine with a phone call? Okay, good. Cable Commission, Ward 3, we didn't have any applicants, you two, so we'll try one more time through October 21st. Abatement Board, Ward 5, Ms. Andrus.
Oh, yeah, I've sent that out to my ward, but I did not hear it back from abatement board or,
Abatement Board, Ward 5.
okay. I did send that
So
out to the
we'll
ward.
reopen that one until October 21st as well.
The art advisory on Ward 5 doesn't close till 10/13.
Yeah, I was thinking it was the BZA, not the abatement board.
She says it's the Abatement Board.
I sent out for the BZA. I thought that's what.
We have Municipal Housing Code Abatement Board.
Oh, okay. All right. Shoot, messed that up. Okay.
Thank you, in advance. What?
Did we not have a BZA Ward 5 open until 10/14?
I thought we did. Yeah.
That's what I have in my notes from last
Yeah.
council.
We have
That's
a
what I-
BZA, yes.
But that's BZA, we're not mentioning.
Yeah, I did not have
We're
the
just talking
abatement.
one
I didn't know about the
thing.
abatement board.
Should email and retract.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I did not know about the abatement board. That
Okay.
is.
The BZA, yes, is open until 10/14, and the Arts Advisory, Ward 5, is open to 10/14. But the Municipal Housing Abatement Board closed today.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
We appreciate Homewood Star publishing an article about participation, and we certainly would encourage October 21st needs to be a time when we have a lot of additional participation.
So just let me clarify on Ward 5. We have abatement board, Arts Council, and the BZA for Ward
You don't
5.
have the Arts Council because that's 4, not 5.
No, we do have 5 too. We do have 5 as well.
So you're saying it's 5 instead of 4?
No, we think it's 4 and 5.
So we have 2, 4, and 5 with
Yeah.
Arts Advisory.
Yeah.
That's why I asked Miss Lights if she wanted to go ahead and announce hers tonight, because we've been taking a lot of time to fill it, but I didn't. So we put it on there, but we didn't know, because we got a 2 and a 5, and now we're gonna have her 4.
Okay, so we're going to do 2 and 5, and we're going to do some follow-up. Okay, good. Cable Commission, Ward 3, Abatement Board, Ward 5, Board of Adjustments and Appeals, we still, even if these 2 applicants are approved, we still have 5 more open places. We're going to schedule interviews on Hydra, IDB, and hopefully make some appointments with the Educational Building Authority at large. So, we'll move on. We've got an amended agenda tonight, believe it or not, and we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 items. 2 are new business, 2 are committee referrals. So bear with me, folks. Item 210919, which is a request to authorize the mayor to accept the FEMA Firefighters Safer, SAFER, grant award requested by Chief Bresnan. 220919 is a request to create a city planner position for fiscal year 1920, requested by the mayor and Mr. Jones. 230919 is a request for consideration of a Rosedale Local Historic Designation. This will be committee referral to Planning and Development, requested by Mr. Thames and Mr. Gwaltney. And lastly, 240919, this is a committee referral to Finance, Mr. Jones. A request for consideration of transferring up to $1 million from capital to general surplus.
From general surplus to capital.
I'm sorry.
It's from general surplus to capital.
Did I write it down wrong? I'm sorry. General surplus to capital. I did write it down wrong. That is the 4 items. Are there any other items that we need to add? All right, Chair would welcome a motion and a second for approval of the amended agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion from Mr. Higginbotham, second from Mr. Thames. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is approved. Okay, we're going to take a couple of things out of order for both convenience and procedural reasons right now. One is, okay, thank you. Hold on with me. One is 160919, which is other new business. Request for consideration to pass a resolution of city support for the 2020 census participation, requested by Sherry Nielsen with the partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau and Melody Salter, our city clerk. So the chair would appreciate a motion and a second. All right, let's see here. Motion from Mr. Jones, second from Mr. McCluskey. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that will be Resolution 19141.
I'll just have to get it to you when it's signed.
All right, there we go. Next, before we can move on to the the consent agenda, sorry, got the census on the brain. We need to look at an old business agenda item 040919, public hearing set for tonight for consideration for a variance to the sign ordinance at 131 West Oxmoor Road, requested by Megan Ellis and Greg Cobb. We're going to open and immediately close this hearing based on a recommendation in special issues. Right, Ms. Smith?
Yes, she requested that it be
dropping
dropped.
this item. Okay, so we open this public hearing. Notice the slight tap, and we will close this public hearing. All right, so do we need to vote on that, Mr. Kendrick?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So next, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes 040919. Chair would welcome a motion and a second for approval.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Thames, second from Mr. White. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is unanimous. All right, so we move on to 050919, back with other old business. Public hearing set for October 7th, 2019 for consideration to amend subsection 2C relating to posting of property with signs of section B entitled zoning amendments of Article 9 entitled Administration and Review Procedures of Appendix A entitled Zoning of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Homewood, requested by our city attorney, Mr. Kendrick. We'll point out that Planning Commission gave a favorable recommendation of 6-0 at their September 3, 2019 meeting, and that is carried over and scheduled for October 7th. All right, 260619, bid opening held on August 26th at 4:45 p.m. for insurance agent for the City of Homewood, requested by Councilor White, also carried over in the Finance Committee. We'll start with a report from Finance, Mr. Jones, and also an explanation of your ad hoc committee, if we could, please.
Sure. The Finance Committee met September 16th, and after hearing the report from Mr. Wyatt, voted 5-0 to form the review committee, and we're just going to carry that over pending the report from the review committee. And as I understand, they've already had a couple of meetings and are working on it diligently right now. So that's the report from Finance.
Good. So therefore, we'll carry this item over until
Yes, sir.
The ad hoc committee's work is complete. All right, next item, 030819, bid opening set for September 16th at 4:45 p.m. with deadline for submission of bids at 4:30 p.m. For wrecker service contract requested by Chief Ross. Recommendations from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, and after hearing the report and recommendation from Sergeant Suttles, 5-0 was the vote to recommend accepting the bid from Will Wrecker, the sole bidder. So 5-0 out of Finance.
All right, good. So we have the motion from Finance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is Resolution 19-142, Mr. Kendrick.
Yes, sir.
All right, 040819, bid opening set for September 16th, 2019 at 4:45 p.m. with deadline for submission of bids at 4:30 for animal control contract, again requested by Chief Ross. Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, and again, we got a report from Sergeant Suttles, voted 5-0 to recommend accepting the bid from Vulcan Animal Control.
You've heard the motion from Finance. Is there any questions? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also passed unanimously. 300819, request for consideration of the Finance Committee's recommendations of changes to the 2019-2020 Mayor's proposed budgets and adoption of resolutions appropriating funds and amounts for the following funds. Quickly, I'm going to read the 16. General is 1, grants is 2, 7 cents gas tax is 4, 4 cents and 5 cents gas tax is Fund 5. Number 5 is Board of Ed Trust Fund, which is Fund 6. Number 6 is Debt Service, which is Fund 11. Capital Projects Fund, which is Fund 12. Environmental Escrow, which is Fund 13. Insurance, which is Fund 14. E911, which is Fund 15. Corrections Jail is Fund 21. Corrections Court is Fund 22. Court Specialist, Fund 24. Inspection Technology is Fund 25. GLW 16, Construction is Fund 26, and Judicial Administrative is Fund 28. Is there any comments you would like to make, Mr. Jones, before we vote on this?
Yes, sir. I'd first like to thank the mayor for presenting a good budget. A lot of work was put into putting the budget together. I want to thank Mr. Higginbotham, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Wright, who's not here tonight but did a lot of work, and Mr. Thames for your service on the Finance Committee. We called 7 meetings. And some of them were very lengthy, going back to September 3rd. We went over revenue, general fund, capital, employee funding, organizational changes, the other funds, finalizing, and we finalized tonight in the last 15 minutes before council. So a lot of time and effort went into this. I want to thank Melody Salter and Robert Burgett for all the work that was done in preparing and helping us work through the budget. Just a couple of quick highlights, and anyone on finance can add to this. It just seems like yesterday that the mayor presented this, but it was October the 26th, and we began our hearings on the 3rd, as I mentioned. The mayor's budget had an increase of 4% for the health insurance that was to be paid by the city, and unfortunately, the actual increase came in at 4.9%, but we're fairly close. So we approved that increase. That increase came at the cost of $96,819. The finance committee approved a 2.5% COLA for full-time employees. That cost was $514,000. The mayor and the finance committee both approved all the merit raises, and that cost was $225,000. It's not going to be part of this motion that we're making here for these 16 funds, but we believe that it really should be mentioned tonight that we're going to be doing the bonuses to the employees, and that's grossed up. So we're going to be recommending the same structure that we have done, and this is pending a surplus from the city, but we feel really good about the surplus coming in. So that funding is to not exceed $370,000. That's going to be the recommendation, and this fund comes in. I mean, this money will come in a bonus, around the November timeframe. And I've had just a lot of appreciation from employees for that. And we even had someone say that they appreciated us not putting them in the Jelly of the Month Club. So it's real money, grossed up. So they appreciate that. Need a little lightness here. Now, in terms of the capital fund, we spent a lot of time working through the capital fund, but we do need to highlight some things that we're proud of. I know Chief Bresnan is certainly proud of this, the purchase of a new fire engine. That's around $800,000, aren't you, Chief? Yep. So we also recommended, as part of the capital budget, the purchase of new vehicles throughout the city. That was at a little over $1.1 million. The Greenway, the construction is funded. Ms. Andrus was happy about this at $1.3 million. And then Mr. Thames has been heading up the effort on the 18th Street revitalization, and you too, Mr. Gwaltney. In Ward 1 at $1.7 million for the 18th Street revitalization. As normal, we're still discussing things with ALDOT. It seems like we're always discussing things with ALDOT. So we did get an approval within the budget for the turkey foot. We're still working on the diverging diamond, so we're going to keep working on that. Also, the completion of the public safety complex that we're very committed to finishing within the 1920 budget. And then the completion of the library expansion, again, in FY 1920. I hope I covered everything, but really I'm very excited about this budget, feel really good about it, and I don't know if you need to ask me about every one of them, but within our last meeting, we voted 4-0, I believe, to approve every one of these. I believe Mr. Wright was out of town. So these are all 4-0 approvals of each of the line items. Did anybody else, did I miss anything? Thank
I
you.
thought he did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Well done.
I tried to remember everything.
Great.
Come on.
Good job.
So with
So
that,
are you
I'll-
inferring, Mr. Jones, that I don't need to ask you for a report on each
You,
one?
yeah, you probably don't. I mean, it's going to be 16 4-0 votes for each of these funds.
Great. So we'll start with the general fund. Is there any discussion with that? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is Resolution 19-144. Grants Fund, since we have the motion, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-145. Mr. Wolverton just joined us, Ms. Salter.
Did you vote on that one or no?
All right, 7 cents gas tax fund. We have the motion from Finance. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And that is 146. 19-146, excuse me. 4 cent and 5 cent gas tax fund. Again, we have the motion from Finance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is 19-147. Board of Education Trust Fund, we have the motion from Finance. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is unanimous in 19-148. Debt Service, report from Finance is in. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none, so therefore, that is Resolution 19-149. Capital Projects Fund, report from Finance is the motion, and therefore, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And that, any opposed? There being none, that is unanimous, and that is Resolution 19-150. All right, Environmental Escrow Fund, we have the motion from Finance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-151. All right, the Insurance Fund, we have the motion from Finance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is 19-152, and that is unanimous. E911 Fund, we have the report from Finance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-153, and that too is unanimous. Hold on just a second. Let's see, which was the one we just did? E911, right.
It's
Okay,
Corrections Jail.
Corrections Jail Fund, we have the motion from Finance. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 19-154 and is unanimous. All right, Corrections, the Court Fund, we have the motion from Finance. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-155. Court Special Fund, we have the report from Finance. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 19-156. All right, Inspection Technology Fund, we have, again, the report from Finance. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-157. The GOW16 Fund, report from Finance is in, and the vote is all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-158. All right, Judicial Administrative Fund. We have the report from Finance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-159. And that completes, Council, 300819. Thank you very much for your involvement in that. All right, 240519, request to review and amend the West Homewood District zoning requested by Mr. Higginbotham, Mr. Wolverton. We'll start with a report from P&D. Mr. Thames.
Yes, sir. The committee met and decided to give a favorable recommendation. I'm sorry, the Planning Commission met and gave a favorable recommendation of 5-0 to recommend Mr. Higginbotham's list of changes to the current West Homewood zoning district. The P&D committee met and reviewed those changes and referred this out without recommendation pending the public hearing.
All right, so I think we have two things to discuss. One, we'll set the public hearing for October 21st, 2019 at 6 p.m. And secondly, were we going to discuss the possibility of extending this for a relatively short period of time? Mr. Higginbotham? Okay, all right, good. Okay. We will move on with that. So 240519 is, the public hearing is set. All right, 030919, request for consideration of zoning setback changes. Again, requested by Mr. Gwaltney and Mr. Thames, and we will set the public hearing for that for October 21st, 2019 as well. Any questions or comments about that? If not, we'll move on to 010919, request for consideration to work in the city right-of-way at 1906 Kensington, requested by Fraser Christie and Greg Cobb. Mr. Cobb, as you're making your way up here, special issues, Ms. Smith?
Yes. Committee met last week and voted 4-0 to recommend approval of the right-of-way work pending the proper indemnification agreements. Motion was made by Ms. Andrus, seconded by Mr. Higginbotham.
Good. Can you bring us up to date on that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Christie called, could not be here tonight, but what's going on is at that address, there's a drain in the backyard that goes down the block through private property, and it's not ours. It's not in a right-of-way or an easement. And they're having issues back there, so the homeowner, in order to resolve it, wanted to bring the water out to the street. So it'll be underground, pipe it out to our right-of-way, and then in our right-of-way, put it in a 10-inch concrete pipe and run it down to a manhole some short distance down the street. I forgot exactly what that distance is. He had a drawing on it. But also in our right-of-way, we typically use 18-inch pipe, so that would be a variance from the standard pipe. Now, that was in our subdivision regulations, so that would go to Planning Commission. Is that correct, Mr. Kendrick? Okay, so that would be a Planning Commission issue, is whether or not to use 18 or 10. Also, this is going to be a way off in the distance because there's a whole lot of groundwork that's got to be done since it's a gravity line to make sure that you can actually get from point A to point B.
He had a drawing, Greg. I didn't get a copy of it.
I didn't either, and so I'll make him email it to me and I'll send it to you.
Well, it just needs to be attached as Exhibit 1 to the
Okay.
resolution.
Okay.
If it's approved.
Yes, sir. I'll do that. Anyway, we're ways out on getting it done. He first wanted to get the permission before you put all that effort into finding all the utilities and what else might be in your way, such as, it's why it's so hard to put a pipe in an existing road. You've got sanitary sewer laterals and all kinds of things in there, so there's a lot of work to be done to see if it'll actually gravity drain.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Cobb?
I do have one.
Please go, Ms. Smith.
Mr. Christie mentioned that this is part of some litigation.
Yes, ma'am, to
between
avoid that.
homeowners. So, yeah, well, I mean, it sounded like to me there had to be some outside approvals from insurance folks and things like that before he could even really determine that this was the course of action that was going to be taken. So
Right.
did he have any estimate as to?
I've
No?
not talked to him since the meeting.
Okay.
I just found out late this afternoon he was ill, not able to be here tonight.
Okay, okay.
But I will find all that out. It's going to take a little process. If the council grants him permission to do it, it's going to be a time drag before he does anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll update you on that.
Okay, because, some folks over there are kind of excited about having their street paved.
I talked to
So,
Berkeley about that
yeah.
too, to see if we could, what we would do. And we did this with the waterworks on Grove Place several years ago. We held off on that one section until we got our work in, and then we paved that section.
Okay,
So-
we would do the rest of Kensington except for that portion.
Yes, ma'am, that's what we would do, leave it out so that we don't have a newly paved street dug up.
Right.
And we try to coordinate that with all the utilities, but it doesn't seem to always work.
Any other questions of Mr. Cobb? If not, Ms. Smith, do you have a motion?
Yes, we did, we voted to recommend approval
Okay, you
for
did.
4-0.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Thank you very much. All right, any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's Resolution 19-160.
Thank you.
Thank you. 020919, request for consideration for C Spire to bore underneath the city right-of-way at Summit Parkway requested by Mitchell Hickman with SMW Engineering, Wyatt Pugh and Greg Cobb. Report from Special Issues, please, ma'am.
Yes, representatives from the engineering company and C-Spire attended our meeting last week, and we voted 4-0 to recommend approval pending, again, indemnification agreements being taken care of. Motion was made by Ms. Andrus and seconded by Mr. Higginbotham.
All right, we have a motion from Special Issues. Any other further questions or comments? Mr. Cobb, was there something we needed to?
No, sir, I just came up because you had any questions.
Okay. No questions. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? This is 19-161. Next item is committee referral agenda, and the chair would welcome a motion and a second for approval.
Plans are attached.
Motion from Mr. Higginbotham, second from Ms. Smith. Thank you very much. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimously passed. All right, let's move on to 170919, request for consideration to extend the moratorium, thank you, on the issuance of new construction building permits within the West Homewood zoning district as adopted by Resolution 1992 and began June 14th, 2019, requested by Mr. Higginbotham and Mr. Wolverton. And my understanding is we were looking at a short reprieve. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Normally, it would have ended on the 14th, and we're just suggesting that we let it go to the end of October to make sure that we can get in that meeting we need to have the public hearing and vote on this item prior to the moratorium expiring.
So are you making that as a motion, Mr. Higginbotham?
I so move.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Higginbotham. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. McCluskey. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, this is Resolution 19-162. All right, 180919, request to fund the employee bonuses contingent on a September 30th, 2019 general fund surplus payable to employees in November 2019 and not to exceed an amount of $370,000 with the same years of service tiers as in past years. Walter Jones requested this, as well as Mayor McBrayer. Report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, as I mentioned earlier, and voted 4-0 to approve this. I just want to review quickly the numbers so that you can kind of see what we had recommended. It's really you just need 1 year of service to be eligible for this bonus. So 1 to 3 years of service is a $350 check, and again, it's grossed up. 4 to 6 years, it's $500. 7 to 9 years, it's $750. 10 to 15 years, it's $1,000. 16 to 19 years, it's $1,500. And 20 plus years is a $2,000 bonus. So again, that recommendation 4-0 out of Finance, not to exceed $370,000.
All right, y'all have heard the recommendation from Finance. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is Resolution 19-163. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Now, 190919, request to fund a 2.5% cost of living raise, or COLA, in the fiscal year and 1920 budgets. Again, requested by Mr. Jones and Mayor McBrayer. Report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee voted 4-0 to approve that 2.5% COLA.
All right, you heard the motion from Finance. Is there any questions, comments? None. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous, and that is Resolution 19-164. 200919, request for consideration of approval of vouchers for the period of September 10th, 2019 through September 23rd, 2019, requested by the City Treasurer and our Finance Committee. Mr. Jones, who did the honors?
Mr. Higginbotham.
Mr. Higginbotham.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Well, actually, I didn't end up with any questions, actually. There was one, I had one question, I resolved it on my own. So I am going to happily move this item, since, as I understand it, this will be my last week before the next quarter starts. So I'm happy to move this item for approval.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Higginbotham. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Wolverton. Any other questions? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous, and that is Resolution 19-165. We have two other items. 210919, request to authorize the mayor to accept the FEMA Firefighter Safer Grant Award requested by Chief Bresnan. Any explanation to this that we need, Mayor, or pretty self-explanatory?
I can give an explanation if you want some details on it.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All right.
We're excited.
All right.
We're excited.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
All right, motion from Mr. Higginbotham, second from Ms. Smith. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that is 19-166. Final item, 220919, request to create a city planner position for fiscal year 1920, requested by the mayor and you, Mr. Jones. Any questions or comments on this particular item? If there is not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Did you get a motion in a second? I missed it.
I'm sorry, did I not? I
I'll
sure
move
did
for
not.
it.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jones made the motion and Mr. Thames made the second. All in favor again, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Sorry, if you got it.
No, thank you for keeping me straight. That's 19-167 resolution. Mayor, that's it.
Mr. President, thank you. So I'm relieved that the budget passed. I appreciate all your hard work. I think probably the budget process is probably one of the most important things that we do. And I'm really proud of my team for the work that they put in it to give you a good, honest budget, and I think we prove that over and over every year. But I also want to say, Mr. Chairman, that I appreciate the amount of time that the council takes to make sure that I get it right. And I also want to thank your families, because it is extra meetings that you're away. So thanks to them as well while we go through a very important process, something that we'll use as certainly as a guideline as we go throughout the next coming year. And as for the last 11 years in a row, I fully expect to have another surplus next year. So thank you again for your service, and thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
Just a couple of quick comments. I enjoyed, though not on the Finance Committee, I enjoyed spending 7 evenings with all of your smiling faces. And yes, my daughter, when I walked in the house tonight, she said, "Not another meeting?" I was like, "I will be home tomorrow night." So you're right. But I did want to just highlight a couple of things that I thought were important. And Melody and Robert, I appreciate everything that y'all do to help us resolve questions that come up. You handle things in such a professional manner. It's impressive. We had a couple of questions come up during the process, and every time, if you don't have an answer on the spot, you do a great job researching it, and I appreciate that. I just also want to thank Public Works for the paving that is going on in Ward 1. They were out bright and early Saturday morning, lots of bleary eyes looking around, but everybody was super excited. There were no complaints. Excited to get the roads paved, and happy the city's investing in our community. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and Berkeley. We appreciate that. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Thames?
Mr. Jones, 5 o'clock,
Yes, sir.
30 minutes. 30
Mr.
minutes?
Jones, how long?
Yes, I'm looking at the calendar. Yeah, we have a council work session right at 4.
Oh, yeah.
We do.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do P&D at 5:30. Hopefully just 15 minutes.
And we are talking on September 30th, correct?
Yes.
Yes, I assume that's right. Thank you, Mayor, for a good budget. thank you, Melody and Robert, for all the hard work. I tell this story every year, but when I was pending to be on the council, that first budget y'all were coming up with, I was out of town. And I wanted to know what was going on, so I sent my wife Amanda up here to sit in. Who's an accountant. So, and anyway, she came back and she said, I'm not really sure what all they were talking about, but that woman, Melody, knows what she is doing. And I'm sure, Robert, if you had been here at the time, she would have said the same thing about you.
My 10-key speed.
Well, she does have a 10 key too. So I appreciate it. I think we may not always agree on everything, but I think we all agree that financially we're very blessed in this city, and that comes from the good stewardship of the money, the mayor, and that starts with you, and I appreciate that. So what is still a hard process is still a fun process most of the time. And there's a lot of exciting things in this budget, and we have that meeting next Monday night. There'll probably be a few more exciting things be added to the budget. So I'm looking forward to that. And had a great time on the radio with Councilman Andrus and Gwaltney last week. I think it'll be podcast at some point if y'all want to hear us. So for those of us with a face made for radio, it was a great opportunity to speak our minds. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Higginbotham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All I would really do is echo some of the comments that have already been made, thanking the mayor and Robert and Melody for all the work that they put in, and my colleagues on the Finance Committee for putting in the time and asking good questions. And I especially want to thank our Finance Chairman, Councilor Jones. He does an outstanding job. He's very meticulous and keeps us on track. And I am thankful for that because I could see how this process could get out of hand pretty easily. So I appreciate his service in that regard, and just wanted to let him know that.
Thank you. Mr. Wolverton?
I apologize for being late tonight. We had car issues and I needed to get it to the shop and get things rolling hopefully tomorrow. But just wanted to, again, extend a thanks to Berkeley and Public Works and Dunn for being out there to pave many, many streets in Ward 2 as well. And then just excited about the Patriot Park connector. My understanding is the piers are there. The bridge should be going in this week, and then from there on, it's just maybe a 2-week, 3-week process before we should be able to get from the inside of the neighborhood to the outside. So it's exciting. And then just last thing is just say happy birthday to my daughter who turned 8 about a week ago. So that is it.
Good. Mr. McCluskey?
Yes, I'd again like to echo my thanks and congratulations for everybody putting the budget together from the mayor on down, and especially my ward mate, Dr. Jones, for heading everything up and setting the meetings, and for Mr. President tonight for going through 16 different items and not fumbling at once. That's right. So very,
Which
very
hasn't
good.
always been the case,
Well,
so that was good.
It's a difficult thing to say the same thing 16 times in a row and not mess it up. So that was very good. And we will set, Britt, you said 15 minutes? Yes. So we will set public safety for 5:45, and I will probably need 30.
Okay, so 6:15.
Yeah. So, and that is it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jones?
Yes, thank you for all the kind words. I couldn't have done it with everybody. I mean, we had such great participation throughout the council, so thank you for that. And over the years, we have had some challenging budgets, but they hadn't been recently. I tell you, we've really had a good budget, so I appreciate that very much. So that it just means a lot when we start off with a good document and go from there. So I really appreciate that. It's interesting when you look at the agenda tonight. I don't know if you realize our numbering system, but we have passed 167 resolutions in this fiscal year.
Yes.
I know.
So, thank you, Mr. Kendrick, for drafting 167 different resolutions. That's a lot when you think about it.
Just a few of the budgets.
Yes, but anyway, onward and
point.
upward, so I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Just to echo everybody's comments, every year I think about August and I'm like, oh, here we go with budget. But it always ends up being so educational. I mean, you learn a lot about the city, even if you're here all the time. You learn a lot about what's going to be happening, and we got a lot of good news this year, so that was a lot of fun. And I want to thank Mr. Jones, because he really does do an amazing job of kind of keeping us on task and focused and doing what we need to do. And it's not an easy job, I think, sometimes. So, and for the mayor and Melody and Robert and all the council members, because we did really have a lot of people who aren't necessarily on the finance committee come and participate and weigh in. So that's always a good thing too. I'm going to set special issues for 6:15. And I'd love to say I can do it in 15 minutes, but I feel like that's probably pie in the sky, so I'm going to say 30 and take to 6:45. And I mentioned this last meeting, but the Homewood Historic Preservation Committee is having one of their forums tomorrow night at the library in the auditorium from 6:30 to 7:30. The speaker is going to be Pamela Stern King, who is the president of the Alabama Trust for Historic Preservation. She's very knowledgeable. It's going to be a great presentation. It's called Prosperity and Preservation. Can Homewood have both? I think the answer is probably yes, hopefully. And everyone's invited. It's free to the public. So tomorrow night.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. White?
So first, I'll set Public Works for Mr. Wright for 6:45. And then I'll chime in along with everybody else about the budget. I am amazed every year. The budget is an immense document, and we get it every year, and it's this big thing, and it looks intimidating until you start going through it. And the only reason that it doesn't stay intimidating is because the mayor does a good job of putting it together, and Robert and Melody take us through it, and Mr. Jones keeps us on task and always has all the information that we need to make it easier than it probably should be even. So thank you to all of you for doing it, because I'm always amazed at it. And then lastly, the Homewood Athletic Foundation is having, I don't remember what year we're on, but the Buddy Wade Memorial Tournament this Thursday at Oxmoor Valley. There is, as I understand it, one team spot left. There are 35 teams currently on there, so there's one left if anyone is interested in it. So.
And there is an opportunity for a free car for a whole.
And there is an opportunity to win a free car on hole number 2, as I understand it, from Limbaugh Toyota.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Did you
Appreciate
set
that.
Public Works, what time did you say?
6:45.
6:45.
Ms. Andrews?
Thank you all. Not to make this about me, but I felt like I've really asked for a lot in this budget, Mayor and Council, and I really appreciate you all listening to me and working with me on some of the projects that are going to benefit the whole city, of course. But I really appreciate you guys being open-minded and working with me on some of those projects. I want to say congratulations to Meredith Drennan. She has a new baby girl who was born today. So we saw her last Wednesday at the Chamber of Commerce, and she was about to pop. Yeah, she's ready to have that baby. Wanted to thank the Homewood Fire Department. Councilor Gwaltney and I had lunch over there last week, and we had a great time. Oh my gosh, all the food, it was ridiculous. I mean, we were right across the street from Little Donkey, like the grilled corn, the Mexican corn, and the dessert. It was so good. We had a great time. Thank you to the Exceptional Foundation. They had a great fundraiser on Friday night. And then thanks also to Birmingham Mountain Radio. They had us on not once but twice last week. They gave us a full hour Thursday night. We had a ball. They fed us, and I know maybe some adult beverages were partaken upon, and we had a great time. I want to thank them. I really feel like this message that we've been talking about, improving our recycling service, has really been well received by so many people, because there's so much to learn, even though, you know, we think we know. There's just always a new layer to learn there. So anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you. You know, I've had this responsibility of the presidency for 7 years, and I remember well, after the first budget hearing, I said, you know, Walter Jones really knows his stuff. I mean, this guy knows these 14-digit account numbers, and I mean, I got to tell you, Walter, after all these years, you're really suited to this, okay? I mean, you really, you've gotten plenty of accolades tonight, and I know you're humbled by that, but you really are suited to this. I mean, as the cliche goes, he's the man, and that's a great thing. Other cities would love to have one of Robert and one of Melody, and we have two. And we know, don't we, Mayor, how fortunate we are to have both these individuals. So, Robert, thank you. Melody, thank you. And breathe deep tomorrow, whatever you're planning on doing. It's a good time to do just that. And with that, we'll stand adjourned. Okay?
Whoever gets it, it's Mr.